I wouldn't say that I put too much stock into it or compare us to another team because, we're all individuals, you know what I'm saying, and everyone has their thing on their team, and we just try to come in each day and put a great product on the field. I'm just happy for the team and how we've all come together and just been working hard this offseason.
How far do you feel like you guys have come this offseason and during the season?
I feel like we've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. But fall camp, I think that'll be the deciding factor. And I think guys will come and be ready for it.
Where do you think your D-line can be with Mason Smith back out there healthy? You had the whole SEC.
I feel like the defensive line can be very well. Getting a guy like Mason Smith back, he's a guy that can wreck a game on any given day. So he makes my job easier, but he also makes linebackers' job easier. And with the way that he pressures the quarterbacks, the corners as well. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, what makes him so different? Because I know we were a lot of us expecting it last year, and then he went down, and it's almost like he's been forgotten in a lot of ways, but now he's back. What makes him different?
Just Mason has an elite get-off, and obviously 6'5", 300 pounds helps him as well. And just he's a guy that's so athletic, and he understands the game so well. When I came in, I learned from him in a lot of ways, whether that's in run game or in the pass game. So he's a guy that's here to help any young guy, or if you need a problem, if you have a problem, you can go to him. He's here to help you.
Do you see the most talented lineman on the roster?
I think Mason's one of the most talented in the nation.
Going into the FSU game last year, you're probably still learning about the staff, learning about each other. By the end of that game, what have y'all learned about yourselves as a team?
Honestly, being down by so much in the first half and then coming back and making it a game in the end, we learned that we're a team that fights. We're not a team that lays down or gives up. And, I was very happy for the team in that way. Obviously the game didn't end in the way that we want. But, we learned our lessons. We took our punches in that game, and we came back better the following week.
It sounds kind of cheesy, but y'all met in the winter and the summer. Have y'all talked about FSU, getting back to that game? Is it something that motivates y'all in your training?
Absolutely. We talk about FSU a lot, but not in the sense that we want this get-back game or anything, but because it's the first game of the season, and that's the team that we're preparing for. Yes, sir.
How big of a challenge was Tennessee last year with their tempo and what they brought to the table? Because that was kind of a statement game for them and maybe a turning point afterwards for you guys.
Tennessee, they were a very big challenge. They had a great quarterback, great running backs. The offensive line was very well, and they had dynamic receivers. They came to play that day, and they beat us, but overall, they were a pretty great team. They're a pretty good team.
What are the maybe underrated aspects of Jaden Daniels in going up against him?
Jaden is so smart, and he understands the game very well. He's a phenomenal passer, and he's great if you let him out the pocket as well. If you just let him sit back there, he'll pick you apart, but if you pressure him too much, he'll take off and he'll make you pay.
What about that LSU O-line? Maybe doesn't get talked about quite as much. What do you see from them?
The O-line, they've been progressing week by week, day by day. They've been great. They were good last year. They'll be even better this year. Younger guys are getting older, and just they've really been gelling together.
Okay, there was a lot of NIL talk from the commissioner earlier, and Coach Kelly a little bit too. Are you guys good if there's more regulation and standardization of the rules across the country, or are you guys more in favor of it's the Wild West and everybody's getting with the game?
NIL has been in place and has helped a lot of college athletes, families out. The NCAA will have to make a decision on it eventually. I don't have too many opinions on it, but I'm sure they'll make the right decision in the end, whether it should be regulated or not.
What about the collectives? Are they a good thing or a bad thing?
I wouldn't say they're necessarily a good or a bad thing, but just something put in place to help student athletes and their families.
Mekhi, y'all played Georgia in the SEC championship. They're kind of the standard in the conference right now. How do y'all feel like y'all stack up to Georgia's program, and is that something y'all talk about or are conscious of, just trying to measure up to them as a team that's won back-to-back national championships?
Definitely. Georgia got the better of us when we played them in the SEC championship game last year. But, I think we stack up pretty well with any team. But originally, right now, all our focus is on, Florida State. If we get the opportunity to play Georgia again, we'll cross that path when we get there. But
you talked about that Florida State game and learned something about Georgia. What did y'all learn about yourselves as a team when you played Georgia, and maybe where y'all have to go to get to that championship?
We learned, that you can't take any game for granted, whether that's your preparation or anything. it was a good moment for us getting to the SEC championship, but that's not something we're satisfied with. We know we have to put the work in to hopefully get over that hump to get to win a national championship.
Coach Kelly talked about a few plays. Jaden talked about a few plays, and not to dig up bad memories from the Georgia game, but if there's one play you go back to, was there a momentum swing or a play you look at and say, you know what, if that play goes a little differently, maybe the result is different in the LSU Georgia game?
I believe there's a lot of plays that went into us losing that game, but I wouldn't necessarily put it on one play because I don't believe one play loses or wins a game. Or, if you want to, you can go and blame me for maybe a missed assignment or a missed tackle somewhere in the game. So, but I wouldn't just necessarily say it was one play that was, the game is over.
What about the LSU culture right now? Looks like there's a lot of championships being won there, obviously with baseball, women's basketball. Is there carryover between the sports?
It's been great just being a part of that culture and being on campus with a team like women's basketball that's won a national championship. And I'm not even a baseball guy, but I watched every playoff baseball game that LSU had. And, it's been really fun. And hopefully that momentum does carry over to football and we can bring that winning culture and continue with at LSU and give those fans something to cheer about.
Coach Kelly's confidence, I've covered him a long time in different schools he's been at. How does that translate when you've got a coach that's kind of been there, done that, and carries himself the way that he does?
When your coach is confident, that spills over onto the players' confidence. And with a coach like Coach Kelly, with his past and the history and what he's done in the past, that's a guy that you trust. And whatever he says, we're going to live with it. Whatever decision he makes, we believe it's the right one.
Kyle, you see Harold Perkins on a daily basis. For those of us that don't get to see him, what's it like to be able to line up knowing that guy's behind you?
Harold Perkins, he's a great player and a guy that offenses have to account for. And he makes everyone's job easier because with him being able to be a plug-and-play guy that can come off the edge and play a true linebacker, teams are going to have to account for him. And getting a guy like Mason Smith back, getting those two players on the field together, that's going to open things up for a lot of other players. And a guy like me, I have to win my one-on-ones playing next to guys like that.
Has there been a moment, since he arrived on campus, whether it was in a game or in a practice, that's kind of particularly stood out that made you and other guys on defense turn their heads and say, wait, wow?
Yes, actually it was last year, the practice week before Mississippi State. We brought him over with the D-line one day, and we was just doing pass rushing. He was just coming over to get a little rep in, and he came, and I forgot who he was going against, but he hit him with a ghost move, and he bent the edge, and it was just kind of amazing because we hadn't seen anyone truly bend like that. We was watching BJ Ojolari, but Perk did it in this crazy way, and he exploded on the scene that game. So,
is there when your defense has these possibilities with Mason Smith, with you, with Harold, what do you think you guys are capable of, especially in that front seven, knowing that if healthy, you guys have something that should be pretty unique in the SEC?
With different guys like that can be put in different positions all over the field, I think we'll work very well together. And even with the transfer guys, we got a guy like Jordan Jefferson and guys like Obi and Brady Swinston, Parrish Shan, just as long as we all work together and understand how each other play and do our 1 of 11, I think we could be really good.
When y'all went back and watched the film with Coach House and just everybody this offseason, what was the one thing that y'all maybe kind of circled on that said, hey, we have the talent, now this is where we need to kind of take the game to the next level?
Honestly, we just had to be more sound in our run defense and guys just paying attention to the small details and the tips that certain teams are giving off, we have to take advantage of them.
Random question.